we've got a nice long straight. Let's go. Ow, my ears. There we go. And it's very bumpy again. Yay. To be fair, the suspension in this car isn't that bad. You notice it if you hit like a big bump, like it bottoms out pretty easily and you get a big bang. But just generally, it's not ridiculously hard or anything, so it's not too bad really for a supercar. Obviously, you can put the magnetic ride thing on and then it's really hard, but there's no use for that in my opinion other than on a track really. So I don't know if I'm going to do any track days in this or not. Part of me wants to, just so that I kind of get more used to the limits of the car and everything. Part of me doesn't want to in case I crash it, which I know you might think, well, just take it steady, but then there's no point doing a track day, is there, if you're just going to take it steady. So I've done quite a few track days on my motorbike, but never done any in a car, so is it really a good idea to take a 70,000 pound car to your first track day? Probably not. So I could do some in the Cupra at first, I guess, but I don't know if I'd enjoy it in the Cupra. The Seat Leon Cupra, just for anyone who's wondering what that is. My other car, it's not a slow car, it's like nearly 300 brake horsepower, but it just feels slow after you've got used to this. Especially because it's turbo, so there's quite a bit of turbo lag. When the turbo kicks in, it feels pretty nippy, but just when you've got used to the throttle response and everything in this, the Cupra does feel kind of sluggish. So I don't know if I'd enjoy a track day in it, because I'd constantly be sort of going, come on, hurry up, kind of waiting for the power to kick in. But I don't know, I might try it. One of my friends does a lot of track days in his Renault Sport Megane, so I might tag along with him one day and do with them. But yeah, I'd like to take this on track just to kind of get the most out of the handling and learn more about how it handles, because on the road, you know, this thing grips a lot, so you can push it quite far, but on the road you don't want to be pushing it that far really, because you know, when you do run out of grip, you're doing like a ridiculous speed and you're probably going to crash. So I don't know, I think especially with the roads around here being pretty rough and bumpy and having like no sort of runoff at all, it's probably not a good idea to learn, you know, the limits of your car on the road. It is nice just being able to just overtake people like without having to change gear. You know, like normally if you're in a kind of average car or even a fairly quick car, you've still got to drop a gear if you want to go past someone. But in this, you know, if you're in 4th gear, 5th gear, whatever, you can just floor it and just go past people. So it's fun. It is fun. So this is quite a tight corner coming up. And it'll look slow on camera no matter how fast I go around it. But we'll try and go pretty fast around it. See, that feels like I'm going to end up in the bush, but I've not. I bet that looks really slow on camera, and this one's even worse. And there's a car coming. But yeah, that was like, I think we were doing, well, around the second corner we were doing 50, so the corner before was probably about 60, but on the camera it'll probably look like I'm doing about 35. Anyone who's ever tried filming themselves doing anything, you'll realise this. Anything you film looks so much shitter than it does in real life, or how it feels in real life. Like you can film yourself doing like a wheelie on your bike, or you know, going around a corner at 100 miles an hour in a car, or whatever. You watch the footage back and it just looks pretty boring and average, and people will be like, why have you even filmed this? It's honestly, it's so annoying. Anything that you film, you get back and watch it and you're like, it doesn't look very good. It's weird, I always thought of these as being like a really expensive car, but when you start looking at supercars, like this and the Gallardo and whatever, this is like kind of the entry level. This is like a cheap supercar, which is weird, because I always thought of Audis being really expensive for their kind of market sector or whatever, whichever market a particular Audi car is in. They're normally like one of the highest prices. But I guess because it's their first supercar really, isn't it, the R8. But yeah, just like if you compare the prices of these to like the same age Gallardo or Ferrari, Lamborghini or Ferrari, these are just so much cheaper, which I guess is good. Like when we went to that Supercar Driver Club event the other day, this was probably one of the cheapest things there, which is ridiculous really, but that's kind of the people that you're hanging out with, I guess, when you go to a supercar club. But we're doing another drive with them, not with all of them, but with like a few people that live fairly nearby. Oh, there's a pigeon just nearly flown into my windscreen. Yeah, we're doing another drive with them this weekend, I think. Yeah, on Sunday. I say another drive. The last one wasn't a drive, obviously. It was just kind of a meet. Whereas this time it's actually going to be driving, which I think will appeal to me a lot more. Please don't pull out. What are you doing? Yeah, I think that'll appeal to me a lot more, because the other one, you know, I like looking around nice cars, but I get bored kind of quickly of looking at cars. You know, I'd rather be driving.